I'm Taylor Phillips along with Ed Smith, and welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Not much to talk about except our top story, along with Tigers and Pistons. Our top story: Michigan Wolverines football recruits edge rusher Jacob Smith, who reunites with his brother, Mozzie Smith. So,
Jarrett Smith.
Jared Smith,
Jarrett
thank
Smith.
you.
Mozzie Smith was already drafted this year.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Jared
Yeah,
Smith reuniting with Maisie Smith.
no, Jarrett Smith with Jacob Smith.
Oh, Jacob Smith. Okay.
Yeah, Mozzie is no relation.
Okay, I Jared Smith was recruited, right, along to reunite
Well,
with Jacob Smith.
Jared was already recruited. This is Jacob.
Okay,
Um,
gotcha.
which understandable. It is understandable getting confused because they are twins. So I understand if someone gets the names mixed up every once in a while.
Ah, gotcha. Yep. All right. So there we go. This is much better. Thanks very much.
No
So
problem.
the Wolverines recruit Jacob Smith reuniting with Jared Smith. So hey, yep. So the Smith twins trying to avenge Macy.
Well, I don't think they're of any relation. It's just happenstance that they're happen to have the last name. I don't think they're of the same family. Smith is a very common name after all. That's like saying I'm related to either of them, which I highly doubt I am.
Right.
But I can say though, in regards to Jacob Smith, which is the subject of this topic, he is a four-star edge rusher. He was, as mentioned, erroneously, I probably might have mentioned at this point, or too much, I should say, the twin brother of Jared Smith, who by his own standards is a four-star on the defensive line as well. So already we're seeing an example of Michigan trying to add to what has led them to success before and what they feel they need to still get better at, while which is of course the trenches. I'll get to that little bit more on the offensive side, but primarily on the defensive side of the football. They understand in today's day and age of football, you need to have guys on the D line that can get after the quarterback or stop the run. And if you invest in your D line, the better you have your chances of having a dominant defense overall that can win you games and win you championships. We've already seen what past recruits for Michigan have turned into in terms of high quality draft picks and, in my view, above average to high quality production in the NFL on the defensive line. That is. And if we see that continue, like say for example, with Braden McGregor, what he can do for this year, if he can follow in that line, in that tradition of the names that have gone before him, like Aiden Hutchinson, David Ojabo, Rashawn Gary, um, Mozzie Smith, Mike Morris, and now that could be even further validation for what both Smith brothers have done here with Jacob and Jared. And not to mention, it bears worth noting that they join in my opinion, and probably in the opinion of a lot of many others, absolutely stacked and loaded recruitment class for 2024. Because think about it, this is a class that already has 26 verbal commits. That is the fourth most out of anyone out there. They also have, in terms of give or take on which list or which publication that you follow, whether it be the ESPN's 300 or the national top 100, this each and every other well-known big name scouting program or scouting website or entity or whatever it is that has a well recognized or respected blue chip prospect report in terms of, hey, this guy's a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, you name it. Michigan has at least 15 of those caliber talents, a 4-star or higher. Give or take what publication you follow, they have that on this roster alone, and I think it helps that you. I've already mentioned the defensive line. It helps that you still invest in your bread and butter, making sure that you have enough proper tight ends, enough proper offensive linemen. Um, it helps that some of those have come from the transfer portal, but still, it's not just all transfer portals that made that offensive line the winners of the Joe Moore Award for 2 years in a row. You have to think some of that comes from the homebred um, guys that you get on the recruitment trail. So I think it will behoove Michigan to stay upfront on that, but also notice that if you want to take your offense to that next gear, next caliber level of a consistent juggernaut threat, you need home run threats in your backfield. And you've seen what Donovan Edwards has become. You've seen what JJ McCarthy is capable of. So let's not. Why not? Why don't we just get um, continue that line, continue that tradition of sorts by what we see here, what they've gotten in commitments from running back Jordan Marshall and the crown jewel of things, quarterback Jaden Davis. So, in my opinion, that is a stacked recruitment class to where if Michigan could just handle business and finish the story for this year, for 2023, it could mean a start of great things for this program, for this team, and for the university with the 2024 class. But it all depends on whether or not they finish the story in 2023. That's going to be my motto for what the Michigan football team is for 2023 this season. You've been hearing it a lot, and being almost used at times to be like a parody, like in wrestling, so to speak. Finish the story, finish the story. But I think for Michigan, depending based on how the last two seasons have gone, how the last two seasons have ended, I think that is an absolutely true and prevalent story that must be paid attention to, or mission or motto that must be paid attention to, and that is to finish the story.
Yep. Like win a national title.
Exactly. Winning the Big Ten is nice. Beating Ohio State is even better. But now that you've accomplished that, and you've tasted that twice in a row, and you've seen up close and personal the pinnacle that you still yet to attain, it still feels like a sense of the job's not finished.
Well,
the story
pending the Big Ten standings, you have to the Big Ten East Division standings. You have to beat Ohio State and come out on top of the division to enter the Big Ten Conference Championship game, and then you got to win that game in order to enter the college football playoff.
I understand the importance of winning your conference championships, but guess what? This year, the Big Ten runs through us. We are the favorites. We are the back-to-back defending and reigning Big Ten champions. Okay, so we got that on lock. Don't worry about that. We got that shit under control. The focus here is
we're going to beat Ohio State and then win the Big Ten again for the third year in a row. That's a lot. Those two are locks already.
That should be the expectation. It's not a guarantee because Ohio State, they are always uber talented and caliber of giving it to you on your best day. So I can give them that respect, even though, yes, I have confidence they can beat them again. Yes. But here's the thing. The goal is the natty, period. Finish that story.
Yeah, at least win one college football playoff game and enter the national championship game, which is even a taller task.
Yeah, I get that, but at this point, I'm beyond just winning the semifinal game. I'm going all in. I want the gold.
Yeah, that is the objective. Yeah, you got to go through Georgia, the Bulldogs.
I don't care.
They're the defending national champs.
I don't care who's in that game. It could be Georgia, it could be Alabama, USC. Hell, for all that matter, it could be
even
Ohio
TCU.
State again. Or it could even be them again, or even Ohio State again. Serves no matter. Win the national title. Just win the national title. Just win the national title, man.
Yeah, anyone in America, gotta be up to that task. You gotta keep on your toes, not get too cocky, not get too cute, like Harbaugh did in the beginning of the game against TCU. Fell behind 21-3, tried to come back, but still paid for it. Well, Tigers took 2 out of 3 from the Seattle Mariners at T-Mobile Park. The first 2 games were amazing. They won 5-4, and then they won 6-0 on two home runs from Kerry Carpenter. That second one being a 3-run home run, blasted almost into that second deck, or probably or at least the concession stands. That was like the upper rows of that first deck.
There was some heavy power for sure.
Yeah, Michael Lorenzen almost had a no-hitter, but he got a win. Alex Lang almost blew a save, but still got the save. But
Yeah, but that doesn't bode well if you're starting the second half and you're still having symptoms of Todd Jones-itis here. No, mm-mm. Or Fernando
Right.
Rodney-itis.
Oh, whichever it is, whether it's Jones or Ronnie or Joaquin Benoit or Papa
Jose
Grande,
Valverde. God.
I had to mention him.
Yeah.
Or yeah, there's only one Mike Henneman. You got to admit,
Mm.
but even he has had stressful situations in his 90s as closer for the Tigers.
Mm.
I have always liked closing pitchers when I was young, but I've realized the truth. I mean, they're not perfect, but
Who was it? Wasn't
sometimes they.
Hernandez? Wasn't Hernandez who was it? I'm sure I'm trying to blank on the first name. Wasn't Hernandez who was the closer in the 84 team? I'm thinking of somebody
I
else.
believe so.
Yeah, Willie Hernandez.
Yeah,
I think didn't he win? Was it Cy Young MVP? We won a postseason award of some kind. I don't know if it was one of those
might have
regular
been.
season
Yeah,
or postseason. Yeah, but he won one of those type of awards. So I get it. That is very much essential. I mean, some would argue that was one main reason why the Tigers didn't win a World Series in the Jim Leyland era. Their bullpen kept failing them in opportune moments. But in terms of the then, that's the then. Let's talk about the now. Let's talk about, like you mentioned before, with Kerry Carpenter hitting 3 home runs in back-to-back games. Consider the fact that he had 2 home runs, one home run one game, and then 2 homers the next game. Consider the fact now that is what his 17th or so home run that he's hit in his first 80 games as a member of the Tigers. And when you think about the Tigers, they've had their fair share of power hitters that have played throughout their lineup for them throughout the course of history, and through many decades. And these are the notable names, for example, that he's had hit in 80 games more home runs than. We're talking the likes of Tony Clark. We're talking the likes of Lance Parrish, or even talk about the likes of Willie Horton. That's quite impressive as far as I'm concerned. The fact he's hitting almost 300 as well, has a more than fair OPS and RBI stat as well, tells me that you got something. This is one of your future pieces that's worth investing and keeping locked down as much as possible, because he can be one of your important cog pieces in the lineup in terms of from a bat perspective. So if you can have a bat like that in your lineup, yeah, I would do whatever you can in terms of investing him for my future.
yep. The Tigers are 6 games back in third place of the American League Comedy Central Division. They go to Kansas City again for a 4 game set against the Royals, and then they're back home against the San Diego Padres this upcoming Friday through Sunday.
Hmm.
So
Do you have there? You must have the schedule in front of you. Do you know when? Because I don't. When is the next time they play either Cleveland or Minnesota again? Before, I'm sure, is it before the deadline at all? And if not so, when is it after the deadline?
not until August
Yeah, so it's
when the
after the deadline.
Tigers play the Twins at Comerica Park for a 4 game set from August 7th through 10th, and then they have just a 2 game set on the 15th and 16th at Target Field against those T's, and then Progressive Field against the Guardians for 3 games, 18th through the 20th.
So, like I said, it'll be quite interesting to see how they do near or on the deadline, if they want to keep going forward with this chase against Minnesota, or they think, okay, we've gone as far as we can. Let's see what we can get in terms of leverage or capital for next year and beyond. So,
And yeah, and then home against the Guardians September 29th, 30th, and October 1st to wrap up the entire regular season officially,
mm,
when all 162 games are completed in the regular season. And by the way, the 2024 regular season has been released by Major League Baseball. By the way,
yeah, I think the Tigers, what they're opening. What are they opening against the season against? It's at home, I'm sure.
yeah.
Do you have that in front of you?
Well, on my phone. Well, I actually don't. I can't even. It's not available on MLB.com. until like next calendar year, at some point. But yeah, yeah, that's all I can find.
Never mind. I got it. Home opener for 2024, Friday, April 5th against the A's.
Oh yeah, the still Oakland Athletics. Then they're gonna. But after that, I think in 2025 they're gonna move to Las Vegas and become the Las Vegas Athletics.
I guess, but that thing is so wishy-washy at this point. It's hard to pinpoint an accurate projection of how that situation is going to turn out. You don't know if someone's going to buy the team at the last minute
They're
and
beginning the
start the move.
process of relocating.
True, but someone could always pop up last minute. That thing just feels so shaky, in my opinion. We'll see
Keep
how
our
that goes.
yeah, we'll keep our eyes on it
hmm
on my other national
Now
sports
they
podcast, True
will
Sports.
now just know April 5th. That's the home opener. They will open the season
Right.
on the road the week earlier, March 28th in Chicago against the White Sox.
Hmm.
So I like it. Starting the season officially against a divisional opponent. I like that sort of thing.
Yep. And then you got the Pistons. Summer League Week 2, Ausar Thompson making defensive and fast break plays. The defense is one of the main parts of the game of any sport. And then Marcus Sasser earlier today scoring 40 points in the Pistons' 185 win over the Indiana Pacers. And and it's Ausar Thompson and Marcus Sasser
Sure.
not wasting too much time showing the NBA what they're made of.
Yeah,
So,
I
thoughts on
in
that?
terms yeah for sure. Asar Thompson for sure. For his sake, has already proven himself to me as someone who could be a potential day one starter for the team if all goes well right for him. Because he's shown you to be someone that can be a dog that can work hard for you defensively while also giving you double efficiency. He had on average of 13 points and 10 rebounds throughout the time that he played here in summer league. And showcasing that to go along with those 10 rebounds, he's showcasing you to be or displaying rather how much of a lockdown and consistent perimeter defender he can be, with an on average of two steals and two blocks. That speaks to me as someone that you can use in proper schemes, setups, where it be disrupting passing lanes or just being a pest on ball. Someone you can stick on someone's best perimeter slash best wing player without question. You want think of, for example, of what Jared Vanderbilt was doing for the Lakers throughout most of their playoff run. That could be a role in terms of defense wise that Asar Thompson could definitely bloom in. And obviously, there's still things needs to be concerned in terms of fixing his production with his offense, at least in terms of his shooting. He did shoot about 28.5% from 3 point territory in the summer league, but still, I don't think that should be seen as a main concern or rather a main priority of his game. To me, he's just as comfortable with what he's doing right now, being your wing defender. You don't have them. He doesn't necessarily have to be your 3 and D guy, but he can be your perimeter guy that you can stick on the other players, or on the other teams, one of if not their best scorer, to try to hamper and neutralize him. That could be a valuable weapon at your disposal if you're at the Pistons. In my view, you put him in a lineup with Cade, with Idy, with Jalen Duran. That can give you a versatile defensive lineup of where, if you scheme it right, if you have the right zone or have the right game plan drawn up, the right system, it may very well have to involve some form of 2-3 zone. But if you have, for example, Thompson and Cade just working on the perimeter, and then you got Duran working at rim side protection inside the paint, that right there sets up your 3 points of how pressure points, I would call them, of how the Pistons can automatically be that much of a better cohesive defensive team. Because when you have guys like Cade and Thompson using their length to clog up and disrupt passing lanes on the perimeter and those entry lane passes, and also Duren doing what he does with with what he can do at the rim. In my view, that alone gives you a better scheme can help lead to better production on the defensive side of the ball and thus better ranking. In terms of Sasser, he had a bit of an up and down summer league, I would say, but good on him to finish high, was scoring 40 points. I believe that was the league high total for anyone in the summer league for this year. And considering the fact that put him up over, or at least had him finish with about 15.5 points per game, that tells me, okay, this is a second unit guy that can get you a bucket. Okay, or someone that if you have to sit Cade or Ivy down, he's a guard that can come in and help pick up the load from the offensive standpoint. And if that is the case, considering the fact that he hit 5 threes today, if he can work that into his game more consistently and showcase that into the team that is already loaded and it's full of a lot of guards as is, I would say look out Killian Hayes because you may have potentially just met your replacement.
Yeah. So Killian Hayes maybe gone from the Pistons roster.
We knew that when this pick was made, Sasser was going to be like, okay, you're definitely replacing Corey Joseph. But if he keeps showing off or showing what he's got, I don't know, man. I'm just saying, I'd be a little bit concerned if I'm Killian. Just a little.
Nice to have a crystal ball. Nice to have a crystal ball of what's to come. All right. So, what did we learn in terms of what we talked about?
In terms of what we talked about for tonight, it seems to me that Michigan is building a consistent system with terms of their players to where you don't have to worry about rebuilding. They're just going to reload year in and year out. The Tigers, noble start to their second half. The fact that they won a series, the fact they did it on the road, the fact that now you got some divisional games coming up, some important divisional games coming up, as well as the looming cloud of the trade deadline. Let's see what you can do to start the second half. Is it going to be looking more like we did in May, or we're looking more how we did in June? We still yet to find out about that. And the Pistons, like I said, I like the fact of the pieces that we are seeing wanting to come in place through the matter of Troy Weaver with his draft record. You want to be hopeful for. You want to be optimistic for. The question is now can you step forward now and start getting some wins? That way you don't have to be constantly in the position to draft top 5, top 8, top lottery players year in and year out. Because at that point you got to show the production, you got to show the wins. Hopefully, with this new coaching staff being put in place, the right feel, the right cohesion is being tempered now to where we may start to see that improvement. Depends on how fast or how slow it goes. It just comes down to the matter of what works best and what doesn't.
Yep. So that's all of what we learned for this episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Follow the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Michigan_Truth, and like its Facebook page. Subscribe to its YouTube channel at the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Like our videos and turn on all notifications on the bell icon. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at DT2Phillips. Subscribe to my YouTube at DT2Phillips. Also on Twitch, DT2Phillips1984. Follow Ed Smith on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at EdSmith313 and subscribe at EdSmith313 on YouTube. Business shoutouts go to Athletico Physical Therapy on Woodward in Ferndale. Cali Tickets, call Mark Goldman at 877-225-8425 or visit CaliTickets.com. Creative Embroidery of Cadillac. Cuts by Melanie in Lake City. Let's roll with it. Rolled ice cream in Cadillac, branded with the Food Mafia. Follow them on TikTok at the Food Mafia LLC. Northern Star Event Rentals in Cadillac, 231-884-8195, and like them on Facebook. And United Food Service Solutions of Grand Ledge, Michigan. We'll be back next Sunday night at 10-ish. For Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. And remember, we observe Michigan sports and we detect the truth. Stay on the lookout, everyone.
Take care and be safe, everybody.